Hi, I'm Dr. Brian Curtis with Fossil Crates, and I'm here with
Jacob Jett with the Rocky Mountain Dinosaur Resource Center.
And we're talking about the finals, the final pre-fight info. So let's jump right into my favorite, the herbivores. Number 1 seed, Diplodocus, is squaring off against number 3 seed, Ankylosaurus. And these animals are evenly weighed. They both weigh 10 tons. And you've got two contrasting styles here. And they're both tails, but talk to me about these animals.
I mean, the really crazy thing is we've discussed this before. Ankylosaurus is an animal with a low center of gravity. It's heavily armored. What are you gonna do to it? You're basically fighting a rock tank. And it's got its own rock tank to fight back with. Now, Diplodocus has a lot going for it, but it's really relied heavily on its mass up to this point, and that's no longer something that's really going to serve it well. They're so evenly matched on body mass, and it's Diplodocus's weapon is really its tail. And what's that tail going to do to Ankylosaurus? I don't think Diplodocus has a good chance going forward.
I disagree, and here's why. Diplodocus hiking up on its hind legs. Here's what I think is going to happen. They're going to come forward, and Ankylosaurus is even going to pivot around. Diplodocus is going to hike up on its hind legs, and it's going to pretend it's going to go into a mating move. It's going to walk forward, and it's going to drop those giant paws on the back and try to break the back of Ankylosaurus, gambling that Ankylosaurus tail, it's going to hit these massive elephantine trunks, and it's going to do damage, but the Diplo is gambling that he is going to come down and break the back of an Ankylosaur. Because Ankylosaurus osteoderms are great, but if you put 6,000 pounds crashing down from 20 feet in the air, squarely placed on the back, it breaks, it punctures through, it dies. So I think that this fight's gonna go over quick, and I think Diplo is going to go up, come down, and then walk off the sunset to face whoever carnivore shows up. But I'm a homer, so we'll see what y'all vote for.
We'll see. We'll see. I think this one could go either way, but I don't know. He's gonna have to get really solid and in fast.
I think either way, I think the voting's going to be close because you've got mass fans versus you've got the armored fans. Defense wins championships versus just a pure offensive juggernaut of weight and mass. We'll see. Now, on the other side of the bracket, in a way, we've all known this was coming. This almost had to be. Number 1, Spinosaurus. Number 2, Giganotosaurus. Giganotosaurus didn't think he should be number 2. He thought he should be number 1. He got the ranking number 2 because Spinosaurus made it to the finals each time. He got it in deeper. And we're talking about an animal in Spinosaurus 50 feet long, over 8 tons in mass, outweighing our Giganotosaurus. Giganotosaurus is a smaller animal. It's not used to being the smaller of the two, and we've seen Spino bully animals before, but Giganotosaurus' skull is next level amazing. What do you think about this one?
I'm going with the Giganotosaurus. There's a lot of teeth there. Now, they both kind of rely on the same concept of lots of really sharp teeth and lots of biting power. Not necessarily bone-crushing power, but they've both advanced this far. But just the size of that skull, unless we see another littoral strategy from Spinosaurus as we've seen in the past. And even then, they might not be perfectly matched, but I think Giganotosaurus would hold its own.
So I'm thinking this is Giganotosaurus' win. I think Giganotosaurus is going to be the carnivorous chomp. And I say that because in the real world, if you will, Spinosaurus had to face off against a very similarly sized animal in Carnivore out in Africa. So Spinosaurus knows to avoid these beasts. That long, slender snout is not going to hold up. I wouldn't be surprised if Giganotosaurus goes right for that snout and says, bring it, and tries to remove that snout like we saw Tyrannosaurus Rex biting right through Torvosaurus' snout last year to show off, you think you're tough, I am tougher. Giganotosaurus is a big bad beast, and it's also well loved, but Spinosaurus is well loved, and you can't. Mass might win this championship. I don't know, I think it's going to be a close matchup again. I think we're coming into it's going to be real close. Less than 5 points is how I'm calling this fight, but I'm calling Giganotosaurus advancing. Welcome to the Chulai Championship 2022 preview show. I'm Dr. Brian Curtis with Fossil Crates.
And I'm Aiden Rouse here in Florida.
And we are here to break down the fights coming into the championship round. Who will be dubbed Carnivore Chomp and Herbivore Chomp, and then who will be fighting in the finals of the Ultimate Championship. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We'll start off with the carnivores. You had number 1 seed Spinosaurus making its 3rd straight appearance in the finals. And you have, for the first time ever, the number 2 seed Giganotosaurus making its appearance.
Now, both of these animals share a painful history in that their desires to be Chomp were ended by the reigning, defending, and now retired two-time champion and my play-by-play broadcast announcer, Tyrannosaurus Rex. So with T-Rex off the table, be curious to see who's going to win this matchup. These are some fierce competitors.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Both animals have gone through quite a journey throughout this season so far. And with Giganotosaurus kind of making it into the finals of the carnivore round, I think we have a new bad guy on the block, basically. For me, I see Giganotosaurus bringing it out strong, not only because of the new hype around Giganotosaurus with Jurassic World Dominion, but with also, I mean, it's a huge animal. I've been fortunate enough to see one of the 5 skeletons of it and staying next to it. It's no small little carnosaur. It's a very large predator. Now, Spinosaurus, of course, as we've seen before, has lots of mobility and lots of, agility, especially it knows how to use basically all the parts of its body as some way to take advantage of its opponent. Now, and to contrast all of that, Giganotosaurus, it's, we could suggest that, hey, it was a social animal. It hunted in packs because it had to take down huge prey, right? So once you isolate that and you put a predator fighting one-on-one with each other, could put Giganotosaurus out of its game, especially against a very large predator. Giganotosaurus has gone against, animals quite smaller than itself in the past. So now it's coming up against, pick on someone your own size type of fight here. So
I like how you said that, pick on someone your own size, because Giganotosaurus has been an absolute bully in this tournament, the bad boy. He's been frustrated and he's taking it out on his opposition, just destroying them afterwards. My booth partners come out of the screen at one point. It got ugly. And Giganotosaurus believes the title is his, and he's got the weaponry to deliver the victory. That skull is gigantic. The teeth are just blades of gore. The arms are strong, the legs are powerful, just an all-around tyrant, except when it's going up against the massive Spinosaurus with a very heavy body and a long, gigantic reach, both snout and tail, huge claws, well-balanced, except for the claws, the teeth aren't going to do the damage that the Carcharodontosaurus bite's going to do. But we saw that against Torvosaurus. Maybe a bit of a hint of a prequel, if you will, because Torvosaurus came in because he fights one speed, full on fury, and he got elephant sealed. Spinosaurus just laid him, rolled him over, and got on top of him, and then just clawed him and snipped him to death. If Giganotosaurus gets on the ground, it's all Spino. But I think Giganotosaurus is going to be too much bite in this particular contest.
Yeah, and a lot of people also don't know that. I mean, Giganotosaurus isn't any slim chicken either, no pun intended. It's a heavy animal, likely, heavier than our, good friend Tyrannosaurus Rex in some cases. So, you have two very large animals going up against each other. But weight also comes, you're risking agility too. Spinosaurus is basically a large crocodile with the sail on its back, right? It's agile. It's very sleek. I mean, you look at its body, it's long and slender. There's lots of mobility within that animal. Whereas with Giganotosaurus, it's big, it looks impressive. It has lots of, kind of firepower with its arms and its mouth and such. But could it maneuver around as quick to pull off a second bite with Spinosaurus? That's a big thing.
It's a big question. And they're both superstars. They're both are instantly known by the paleo community. Spinosaurus, I would give the edge and recognition, but not by a lot. I'm very excited to see who this one comes out to. I think either way, it's going to be close. And
it's going to be very close.
We're going to know soon, a couple of days. On the other side of the bracket, number 1, Diplodocus. versus number 3 Ankylosaurus. Now, me being a homer, I love my Diplodocus, long neck, long tailed, super powered. You're a big Diplo fan as well, I believe.
Oh yeah, yeah. I am very pleased that the fans, made the right choice and put a sauropod, something that doesn't have a big spiky tail or horns on its head into the final round. I mean, this is something I would have never saw coming, years ago or even today. But as we saw, Diplodocus has more firepower than what people previously have thought. It has that huge tail, as we've talked about numerous times before. It's very long, very whip-like. Basically, the last round is a battle of the tails, basically. But of course, Diplodocus has, pretty big mass and just overall size on its side. But with this, coming up against this is very similar. You're coming up against an animal that has a very armored tail, a spiky tail, versus another animal that also has a very armored tail with now a huge bony club on the back of it. So my question is, who has the upper hand here? I feel like this one's going to be very close because we could see history repeat itself and see, another armored tail go down under the mightiness of Diplodocus. That shell is hard, but underneath 90 plus 120 100 feet worth of sauropod, it's nothing. That animal can crush that thing. But with that armor as well, that whip tail can't penetrate that, so it has to rely on something else. Maybe it's the underdog, those big giant manus claws that sauropods have on those fleshy hoof-like pads of theirs can actually see some action and kind of pin the animal down and put Ankylosaurus where it belongs, in the ground. So
so Ankylosaurus is an armored tank. Nothing the Diplodocus has weapon-wise is going to hurt it directly, but Ankylosaurus has not faced anything with the capability of Diplodocus in terms of those forelimbs being able to flip it over in ways that Triceratops could only dream of. I think Diplodocus goes up on its hind legs and comes down, 2 hands, breaks the back. This fight could be over really quick, but Ankylosaurus absolutely destroyed in the voting and in our featurette Triceratops, who came in number 2 seed and was looking invincible. I don't know. I think this one's going to be way closer than I'm comfortable for as the person rooting for Diplodocus from the beginning. I don't know. I'm hoping my Diplodocus pulls it out, but I love Ankylosaurus, and the animal is the defenses win championships in so many sports. This could be another one of those.
Yeah, and with Diplodocus too, we've talked about in the past with flipping Ankylosaurus over. Well, look, the mobility on those, on any of its limbs, it can't just like scoop in and flip the animal over. It has to rely on something else. Its neck has muscle in it. It has stiff muscles. It could,
Yeah, I don't see it flipping it over. Yeah. And those legs can withstand a number of those shots from the Ankylosaurus tail. They're tree trunk legs. They could be chopped down, but the Ankylosaurus is not going to get a headshot, neck's off the ground, and there's no one single area. Even though Diplo's light for a sauropod, it's still a sauropod. It's still a gigantic tree walking around with a long neck and tail. I'm excited. I cannot wait to see who wins. We'll bring you back and we'll chat about the victors and then talk about who's going to be the ultimate chomp. Super excited to see. I'm Dr. Brian Kurtz with Fossil Crates. Aiden Rouse saying thank you kindly. Adios.